current joint meetings of the City Council of the City of Commerce, Joint Powers Financing Authority, and the governing body of the successor agency to the Commerce Community Development Commission. Dean, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Garcia,
Here.
Councilmember Linus,
Here.
Vice Mayor Altamirano,
Here.
and Mayor Gumedo.
Here. And at this point, do we have any items for public comment?
No
None?
public comment.
All right, no public comment, so that is closed now. And we're going to recess to closed session. Rena, what will we be covering during closed session?
Item number 1, staff is requesting to pull this item to the next agenda, conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated potential litigation. Item number 2, the city council will confer with its real property negotiator with respect to real estate negotiations with A. Washtel Commerce LLC, properties located on Washington Boulevard, and B. Craig Realty Corporation's property located on Telegraph Road, Tubeway, and Telegraph Road, Traverse Avenue. Item number 3, the city council will confer with its labor negotiator with respect to labor negotiations pertaining to compensation and benefits for the unrepresented full-time executive management employees.
Thank you, Lena. And at this time, we'll convene to closed session. All right, folks. Okay. Hi, good evening, everybody. We're now reconvened from closed session. Legal counsel, could we have a report, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, with all 5 members of the City Council being present, the City Council met in closed session, discussed the following items. Item number 1, conference with legal counsel. The City Council did not discuss item number 1. Item 2A and B, City staff made a presentation. City Council provided direction. No final reportable action was taken. With respect to item number 3, City staff made a presentation. The City Council provided direction. No final reportable action was taken. Nothing further to report. That concludes my report out of closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, legal counsel. And at this time, we're going to call the regular City Council meeting to order. Lena, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Garcia? Here. Councilmember Linus?
Here.
Councilmember Riboyer?
Here.
Vice Mayor Altamirano?
Here.
And Mayor Guimedo.
Here. And if I could have everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance by our Human Resources Director, Ms. Papo. And also please remain standing for the invocation by our Vice Mayor Altamirano.
Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing.
Dear residents, colleagues, and business community, let us celebrate our diversity and work together towards common goals. Unity strengthens us, allowing us to overcome challenges and build a city we are all proud to call home. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day, and let us extend love and compassion to your neighbors, creating stronger community bonds. Congratulations to everyone on this special day. May it inspire kindness, compassion, and unity among us all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Director Papo. And at this time, we're going to move to appearances and presentations. And we have a presentation this evening. We're recognizing our Bell Gardens High School football team. Yeah. So congratulations to all of you. I'd like to read a little something that was prepared for us. 2 years, let me see, 2 years Principal Miranda was hired. Miranda hired Coach Hector Novoa and his coaching staff to take over the football program at Bell Gardens High School. They had an ambitious goal of winning CIF championship. Not just league titles, this was considered an ambitious goal because it had never been done in the 75-year history of the school. Coach Novoa and many of his staff members are also alumni of the Bell Gardens High School and former football players themselves. This amazing group of players came together and went on a historic run, beating 4 teams to win the CIF championship, including Linwood High School in the finals. They went on to beat Jordan High School in the regional championships and a chance to represent CIF Southern Section in the state championship. Our Lancers fought hard and ended their season as CIF state runner-up. This CIF championship is particularly special because every player is a product of the Bell Gardens or Commerce communities. There are very few teams that can say all of their players live within their school's community boundaries. This team is also very young, having mostly sophomores on the team. The future is looking very bright for the Lancers. The Bell Gardens football team did more than just win a championship during their historic run. The impact they had went far beyond athletics. This team brought together the entire Bell Gardens High School community and alumni. There were alumni going all the way back to the 60s cheering on the Lancers. Those that were able to attend the CIF championship game were able to witness all the amazing support they had. So again, congratulations. We're extremely proud of all of you. I know everybody couldn't be here today, but I believe most of you are Commerce residents, and we want to congratulate you for the contributions you have all made. We're very proud of every one of you, all of us sitting up here. Thank you. And let me read the certificate that we're going to be presenting. And I believe these have already been presented to each of you. The City Council of the City of Commerce recognizes the Bell Gardens High School varsity boys football team, Hector Novoa, varsity head coach. In recognition of your outstanding achievements and unwavering dedication, this certificate is proudly presented to the Bell Gardens varsity boys football team. Your exemplary performance and triumphant victory over Linwood High School with an impressive score of 27-14 have earned you the 2023 CIF Southern Section Division 14 title. Your outstanding skills were demonstrated during the game against Jordan High School, resulting in an impressive 28-8 victory and clinching the 2023 CIF State Football Championship Bowl Games Division. Your remarkable achievements have set a standard for excellence that others can aspire to. Congratulations on your well-deserved success. Present this 13th day of February 2024, Hugo Argumedo, Mayor of the City, and also we have the signatures of each of the members of the City Council here. Thank you all, and if you don't mind coming up for a brief photo that we're going to be taking with all of you. Thank you. Oh. I also want to acknowledge our coach and commissioner here in our community from the City of Commerce, Chris Griego, for being here as well. Thank you.
If anyone would like to take a photo, you're more than welcome to step up right here. Council, please step out.
Mr. Mayor, may I be allowed to say a few words?
Yes, we have some comments from Councilmember Rebollo. Thank you.
I just wanted to be really brief and just say congratulations to every single one of you. As a proud Bell Gardens alumni myself, what you guys did had not been done ever. When the mayor was reading the certificate and they mentioned, you know, when you made it to the you got runner-up for the state, I watched some of you put your head down like, ugh. But that is something that you should be very proud of, because what you guys did, nobody has done. And you put Bell Gardens on the map.
So wear your head high every single day, because those of us that are alumni are so proud of every single thing that you did. I was able and fortunate to watch some of your games. I was at that CIF game where there was grown men crying on the field because they tried to accomplish what you guys did, and they were just so proud of you. And I've never seen football players cry like that. Grown men so close to me, and it was just so emotional because I understood what that meant. So congratulations. Thank you for putting Bell Gardens on the map. Thank you for putting Commerce on the map, even though it is Bell Gardens High School. Some of our Commerce residents attend Bell Gardens High School, as myself did at one time. I won't tell you what year. But thank you again, and congratulations. I know that some of you shared some amazing stories of your journey and your trajectory to get to where you were. Some of you have accomplished things that none of the members of your family have accomplished. You've been through some adversity, and you've gone through things that nobody at your age should go through, but you came out victorious. So congratulations, and thank you for doing what you did. Coaches, thank you again.
Vice Mayor?
Now, I just want to say congratulations to you guys as well. Just know, I grew up here in City of Commerce, and today I'm 50 years old, so I did go to Bell Gardens for a year. However, a lot of my friends today, all they do is talk about their football games that when they were football players, and it's like a highlight to them. So I guarantee that in 20, 30 years, what you guys did is still going to be talked about. So you should be proud of it. You will see your names will be mentioned, how you showed up in the game. Your names will be mentioned, which is going to be awesome. You guys will see it. And I want to say congratulations to the coaches and Chris Grego, Coach Greg. Chris, I had an opportunity to actually grow up with his family. So I got to see that they were always into sports, and I'm happy to see one of our own really inspiring kids, and you dedicate your life. I see that you instill in these young men to be better men in the future, and I just want to really acknowledge you for that and thank you. And I'm just proud that you're my commissioner, and I'll have you as my commissioner anytime. So thank you. Amen.
Councilmember Linus?
CIF Southern Section Regional Champions. You guys are amazing. I'm not a Lancer, but I really wish I was at the end of last year. I know, the whole community was really excited when you beat Linwood. And actually on the night of our tree lighting on December 2nd, which is a pretty big event for our community, everybody was talking about the game against Jordan High, and everybody wanted to, I don't want to say they wanted to leave the tree lighting, but they had other things to do and other things to watch. They wanted to watch your game, and you blew Jordan High out of the water. So congratulations to you. It was a great night for the community. It was a great time for the community. And I just want to congratulate the players for representing our communities up to the fullest on the largest of stages in high school sports. So thank you. You should walk around with your head held high, like Councilwoman Rebollo said. And being champions, that's something that lives forever. So congratulations to you. Be proud of that. And to the coaches, I know we have our Coach Griego over here and some of the coaches here. Just thank you for being role models and being that support system to help these young men grow into champions, right? To have stronger character, to be better people. You guys are the people that they look up to, and look at the results. So congratulations, thank you, and keep it going next year, right?
Councilwoman?
I actually went to the other high school. No, I'm just kidding. Congratulations, all your hard work paid off. I know it's really hard to get out there every day. Your coach on you, just yelling at you to be better players and work hard. So success, you work hard and successful. Good job. And I want to say congratulations to Chris for always bringing out the clinics that you did for flag football. I think we did flag football, right? And so that's the start. So when you do that, you understand the game, and then you start working hard, and then this is the end result. So congratulations to you all, including the coaches and the parents for taking you to each practice and picking you up. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So again, we extend our congratulations. We're extremely proud of all of you, coaches, and we also want to remind the community that I believe they're doing a fundraising for their CIF rings. So anybody out there that would like to help out, please contact. Who would be the appropriate contact?
Mr. Miranda, you can write your checks to ASB, Bell Gardens High School ASB. In the memo, put football, or contact any of the coaches. I know there is a GoFundMe going around that I seen on my social media. I'll be putting it up on my social media as well. So if any members of the community want to donate, I'm going to my public page and the link will be on there. You could contact any of the coaches or Mr. Miranda at Bell Gardens High School.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Rebollo, and City Clerk, if we don't mind getting that information and making sure it gets published on our Parks and Recreation website. Just make it available to the community and also to all the members of the City Council and anybody out there that may be interested, okay? Thank you all. Appreciate all of you being here this evening. Okay, and at this time, we're going to move to public comment, and I have, looks like 2 cards. Scott Mainzen. The others didn't show up. They couldn't make it. Yeah. But that's good. You got all the. Yeah. Thank you. Sure, that'll be fine. Item number 12, right? Okay, not a problem. And our next speaker is Jasmine Gonzalez. Hi, Jasmine. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll be limited, or limit City Clerk, just to be clear, 3 minutes, is that correct? 3-minute limit, okay, thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jasmine Gonzalez. I'm a resident of Commerce, and I've been to a few meetings here, and I've noticed that there is no interpretation. I also asked the city clerk about it the last time, and they told me it was because there are no Spanish speakers. But I'm here to ask you all to please provide interpretation moving forward, if that's possible. Providing Spanish interpretation at our meetings isn't just a good idea, it's crucial to ensuring equitable access and representation for a significant portion of our community. By offering interpretation, we empower Spanish speakers to fully understand the discussion that impacts their lives, actively participate in public comment, and hold us accountable. Remember that an informed and engaged community fosters better decision-making for everyone. So let's bridge the language gap and build a truly inclusive council for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Okay, and at this point, we'll move to consent calendar. We have items 2, 3. Oh, my apologies. Where's that part? Sorry, I didn't see it. Blended right in here, sorry. I have Honey Bizarro. I hope I pronounced that properly.
Yes, you did, sir.
All right, can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, my name is Honey Bizarro, and I am also from the community of Commerce. Good afternoon today. I'm also making a statement about interpretation. City meetings should provide interpretation services to ensure that all community members can participate and understand discussions. Access to interpretation promotes inclusivity and allows for diverse voices to be heard. I'm seeing 6 TVs in this room today, so there's no excuse for lack of technology. And the wonderful comments you made about those students today should have been translated for all of their family members to truly understand. Please provide interpretations to these meetings. I want everyone to understand important bills and proposals coming through these doors. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, and now we're going to move on to consent calendar. Again, that was items 2, 3, 4, 5, and let me see, I guess through 9. Is there any items that anybody would like to pull, or are we okay with the items on the agenda? If
Mayor,
so-
if no questions, I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Can I pull 6 really quick?
Sure.
I just, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, we'll go ahead
Okay.
and pull that item. If there is no other items that need to be pulled, a motion would be in order to approve the remaining items.
Do you want to just amend the
Yes, I'll amend my motion, so I'll move to approve items 2 through 5 and 7 through 9 on the consent calendar.
second?
Thank you. And any objections? Seeing none, motion passes. Okay, now we'll go to item number 6. Councilmember Garcia, you had some questions?
Yes. This is regarding the probation department, and can you give me a brief summary of the partnership that we'll have with the probation department, please?
Good evening, Council. Justin Ness with Public Safety. I do have some members from the Probation Department that could share some light on the activities that they provide. But in summary, this partnership would have a probation officer here 20 hours a week to help with public safety in the Sheriff's Department, providing resources through the Probation Department. It would give us access to different databases and resources related to people that might be on probation. It would assist our Sheriff's Department with those resources as well. So it'd be a good partnership that we'd be able to serve this community with the Probation Department. But if you'd like to ask any specific details related to the Probation Department, I can have the representative speak on their duties.
Is there any other questions? If not, actually, since the item's on the agenda and they are here for the meeting, why don't we have them give us a brief, just a brief summary of some of their activities here in our community that they do. I'm familiar with them, but it'd be great to hear from them.
Thank you, Mayor.
So we have Mr. Rojas and Ms. White here from the Probation Department.
Good evening. I'm Dolores White. I am a supervisor for the Intensive Gang Supervision Program for the County of Los Angeles Probation Department. Questions?
Just a brief summary, I think, would probably be good of some of what your duties and responsibilities entail as representatives for the City of Commerce on probation. You're with LA County, and you're in part of their probation department, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, if you don't mind just telling us a little bit what it entails, your duties and responsibilities for the City of Commerce.
Okay, well, we love to partner up with law enforcement and work in a collaborative way. And what the probation officers are good at doing is if they're out with law enforcement, they can do ride-alongs. If it's a question, they have a question, if maybe an adult probationer or even juvenile, well, we don't even know if they're on probation yet. They have the systems, they have a laptop, they can run them. If there's a warrant out, if they're on active probation, you can keep the lines of communication open with the probation officer and just be assistant to law enforcement. So sometimes it's things that we may know, they may not know. We can identify sometimes youth if they're gang involved or issues like that. With the adult probationers, they can run them. Maybe they're AB 109. They sometimes as probation officers, we know the families, we know the backgrounds.
Mention 8109. I'm sorry. Most people will not
Oh,
understand
I'm
what that
sorry.
is.
That's adults that have been released from state prison. However, they're under the supervision of the probation department.
Okay.
And a lot of times we will know the history, we'll know the families, we'll know if the whole family is gang entrenched and stuff like that. But basically we have a contract. So we want to also honor the contract too. You will have a PO that is actually will be housed in an office here part-time. And sometimes it can go past part-time. It's not going to be always 20 hours, that's it. No, if they're needed longer than that, they have the flexibility to stay longer and assist in any way that law enforcement needs them to assist. But they definitely can be out there along with the ride-alongs, whatever they need the probation officers to do. But however, we do know the backstory of some of the probationers and some of the juveniles that we serve. Some of them may be actually on probation, especially the juveniles, and you're not aware of it, or law enforcement, and we will communicate that with the probation officer, and we can enter notes into our system.
Any comments, questions, council? Ms. White, correct?
Yes, Dolores White.
Dolores White. Thank you. We appreciate you being here. Mr. Rojas, did you have anything to add to the?
Hi, Jose Rojas. I'm also a supervisor with LA County Probation, and I am currently supervising the gang caseload over in East LA. So we're not quite sure once this person gets identified if that person is going to be under Ms. White or under me. So, but most likely it's going to be under me, and that person will be supervised. And if I can add anything, as well as what's on the bullets, in a nutshell, this person is going to be more of a liaison between City of Commerce, Sheriff's Department, that sheriff's officers that are working here, probation, the community. We'll identify juveniles that are on probation, adults that are on probation. We'll identify their needs, their risks, and so forth, and offer services as well through either our department or any services that might be available within the city.
Well, thank you.
I just want to say one important aspect is too, we can also verify if they have search and seizure orders. Those are really important on the spot. Where you
Okay.
don't have to try to get one.
Yeah, thank you for covering that, because in years past, it was my understanding that you actually have a list of all those that are within our jurisdiction, within the City of Commerce, and that you also would make surprise visits just to make sure that they were in compliance with their probation regulations and whatnot. So is that still
Definitely,
part of
that
it?
is one of our roles too,
Okay.
is just to show up unexpectedly and
Yeah.
we don't give advance notice.
All right. Well, great. Thank you. I appreciate both of you being here today, and thank you for providing that information to us.
Well, we look forward to working with you guys, and we've had a positive partnership in the past, and hopefully we'll continue that, because we definitely like to collaborate with different cities and just provide services that sometimes you don't know that what's available out there. And I think the high schools as well, we have probation officers, if any of those in Commerce go to those high schools that we serve, we can also communicate with those probation officers as well.
Well, great. Again, we thank you for being here, and look forward to collaborating with you along with our Sheriff's Department, our community safety program here in the city, headed by Justin here. And, look forward to working with you. We've got a lot of different issues that many other communities are dealing with currently, whether it's the
catalytic converter issues that everybody's dealing with, the street racing, which can be very, very deadly, of course. We recently have had, just recently within the last, probably at the end of the year, we lost two people to street racing on Atlantic. So, it's been very, it's had an impact to many communities. So we hope that we can make a dent in that area as well. So thank you. We appreciate you both being here.
And it really is helpful. We have a probation officer that does Pico Rivera, and the information she brings back about some of the juveniles and even some of the adults that's already on probation has been so helpful. One youth we had to take out the home because the mom had passed this male person off as a biological father, and that wasn't the case, but it was parolees. They had weapons in there. So we had to remove that youth, just because we felt like it wasn't a safe and healthy environment. So it's a lot of things when you have a probation officer collaborating with law enforcement. They are the eyes and ears out there, and they bring that information back to the case assigned probation officer, and it really helps us to write court reports with appropriate and suitable recommendations.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no additional comments or questions on this item, a motion would be in order.
So moved.
We have a
I'll
motion on the
second.
floor and a second. Is there any objections? Seeing none, motion passes. All right. Let me see where we're at. So we're going to move to scheduled matters at this point, and we're going to move to item number 10, which will be a presentation by our Sheriff's Department regarding public safety in the City of Commerce. And I'd like to welcome our dual captains of the East LA station. And please reintroduce yourselves to the community.
I'm Captain Brandon Dean, captain of the East Los Angeles Sheriff Station.
And Captain Chris Kusianagi.
Great, thank you.
So what we're going to talk about tonight is just end of year stats for 2023 as compared to 2022. Percentage increase or decrease depending on the crime, kind of arrest stats and everything. Just kind of an overview of how the City of Commerce did as a whole for the 2023 calendar year. So don't have the stats for up here, but we do have as a heat map. So as you can see, the heat map is designated by colors. So these are for what we call our Part 1 crimes. Part 1 crimes include homicide, assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated assault, sexual assaults, rapes, armed robbery, strong armed robbery, burglaries, and grand theft, petty theft, auto theft, and arson. So those are our Part 1 crimes. So as you can see on the map, excuse me, it goes from like white to red. White being very little to no crime, yellow being just low, then it kind of gets darker and darker. So you can see on the map, the areas most affected in the City of Commerce for all Part 1 crimes is mostly the Citadel and the Commerce Center, and then a little bit over there near the 5 freeway as well. So kind of a snapshot of where we are. So this is year-to-date comparisons, 2023 compared to 2022. So I'll give you the number and then the percentage increase or drop on both. So starting at the top with our most heinous crime is homicides. In 2022, City of Commerce had 6. Last year in 2023, we had 4. So that's a 33% reduction. On sexual assaults or rapes, 2022, we had 8. Last year, we had 4. So that's a 50% drop. Aggravated assaults, which includes shootings, stabbings, domestic violences, or assault with a deadly weapon, others, so like bats, pipes, anything like that. The shootings, obviously, on one where they were shot and they didn't die. 98 in 2022, 83 in 2023, so a 15.3% drop. So in those three very important crimes, we saw a reduction in all three, which is good. Some of our other totals, okay, not as good as those three. Our robbery totals, we were dead even. We had 70 in 2022. We had 70 in 2023, so no change. Burglary totals, that's one area of concern. We saw a slight increase, a 15% increase actually, 243 in 2022 to 281 in 2023. Those are broken down by residential or other. So other would be like our commercial businesses, anything like that, which is residential is obviously one we're concerned with both, obviously, but residential is something we're a little more concerned with because that's somebody's residence, obviously, their safe place. We saw a slight drop in those. It went from 23 to 20, which is a 13% drop. But where the increase, where we got that 15% overall jump, was in the structural burglaries, mostly because we have a lot of industrial area. We saw it go from 220 to 261. So that's where that 15% jump came from, was mostly in commercial buildings, residential down slightly. The other area that went up slightly, the only other area that went up slightly was our other thefts. Those include grand theft, which is anything over $950, or petty thefts, which is anything under $950. So we saw a 3% increase total. We went from 892 in 2022 to 919. So just a small percent increase in there. Still a lot of thefts, though. Auto thefts stayed about the same, 227, 229, so not much change there. And then our arsons went down. Auto thefts. I was reading up to auto thefts went down by 17%. 496 in 2022 to 411. So that's a 17% reduction in auto thefts. And then our arsons went from 13 to 10, so that's a 23% reduction. So the good news is we trended down in most of the categories except for our burglaries, which was mostly commercial, and a little bit in thefts. Where we're seeing the majority of those, again, with the heat map, is mostly in our business districts, along our commerce centers, the Citadel. We're seeing a lot of action over there. So that's kind of the hot spots right now. Last year as a whole in the City of Commerce, Commerce deputies made a total of, 723 arrests. So the deputy sheriffs that work just specifically to Commerce, this in East LA as a whole, made 723 arrests, which is very good. That means they're actively out there and doing great work. One other snapshot on our response times. I know that's always a big thing. This is the year-to-date total for the response times. So we have three types of calls that we have. We have an emergent call, which is a code 3 call, lights and siren. A priority call, which doesn't necessitate a code 3 response, but it's a priority, and a routine call. So the average, according to the LA Sheriff's Department, is supposed to be 6 minutes or less for emergent, 10 minutes for priority, and 60 minutes for average. So for the City of Commerce, we averaged for the entire year 5.3 on emergent, so we were a little under where we wanted to be, which is good. 8.1 on priority, again a little under, and then 53 minutes on a routine call. As compared to the surrounding cities, which include Cudahy, Maywood, Linwood, Firestone, Florence, we did better. The Region 1 totals were 5.4, 8.7, and 60.2. So we're actually a little bit below our surrounding cities. Not much, but a little bit. Some of the things that we're doing, working forward, obviously, with the things that concern us, like I said, the thefts. We're obviously working with the Organized Retail Theft Task Force, which was started about 4 months ago by Sheriff Luna. We do currently have one detective from East LA Station on loan to that task force. He's doing a very good job, Detective Nick Perez. He was actually, I believe they sent it to the council about 3 weeks ago. On February 1st, there was a tractor trailer truck that was stolen out of the City of Commerce. Had about $70,000 worth of electronic equipment in it. That was Detective Perez out of East LA Station that was able to work that case, track that stolen vehicle out to San Bernardino, and he recovered that truck along with several other trucks, and the total amount of goods was about $5 million. So they did a very good job on that. We'll continue to working with the Organized Retail Theft Task Force, working with Sergeant Duarte's team on adjusting resources at our Citadel and our Commerce Center. Some of the other issues that we are seeing that we're going to be dealing with probably will be the cruisers as well. As you guys know, the cruising laws changed. So far, knock on wood, we've been successful on Whittier Boulevard on shutting them down. Obviously, there's a section of Whittier Boulevard that is is Commerce as well. And that Commerce Center attracts a lot of them due to the fact that it's a large parking lot. We've been pretty successful so far. All kudos to Sergeant Duarte and her team out there. They've done a great job on Sunday nights, being very proactive, not only doing citations and towing cars, making several arrests, including individuals that have firearms out there on the boulevard in the City of Commerce. So they've done an outstanding job. Some of the other things we're doing, I know recently the City of Commerce invested in the flock cameras. They've been up and running for about 2 months. I, by no means, am an expert on that. If you guys would like more info on that, I will let my partner speak on that. He's actually one of the ones that piloted the program when it initially came out back in 2018 in the City of Temple. I know he's working with Sergeant Duarte and Assistant City Manager Vilco on positioning of those cameras, the efficiency, making sure they're all set up right. Those cameras will play a great role here in the city. Not only did they catch stolen vehicles, felony vehicles, but obviously they can be used if we have any type of theft-related robberies, all these crimes that we talk about. They assist our detectives in locating these vehicles and helping us solve these crimes. So no doubt moving forward, I think once those cameras really become efficient and we as an agency become better at using them and positioning them where we need to position them, I think it's going to be very fruitful to the city and helping those numbers go down a little bit. Traffic is obviously a big thing. Like the mayor said earlier, we had 2 fatals last year. We've had 1 fatal so far this year. We had a fatal traffic collision this past Saturday right here at Washington and the 5 freeway. Doesn't appear to be any alcohol involved, any street racing. It's just simply an accident. It looks like somebody kind of, wasn't paying attention and ran a red light, ultimately crashed into another vehicle, and unfortunately one of the parties is deceased. So doesn't appear any street racing, just sheer accident. Other things we got going on, obviously we're working very close with Public Safety Manager on doing a lot of neighborhood watching, Coffee with a Cop. We've had several successful ones. We've been out there with the mayor and a couple other council members. We have another one set up for next Thursday, I believe, the 22nd, as well as a Coffee with a Cop this Thursday where we welcome any members of the community to come and ask questions, bring up concerns, bring up ideas to us, and collaborate how we can make the city safer and cleaner. So any questions?
Any questions? Just a quick comment, and I want to thank you for that. The report really looks great by comparison last year to the previous year. I mean, it looks like a lot of good successes here, and it looks like also I know that there was some question related to the dual captains at a station. Well, if anybody's measuring any of this, I would say that this is part of, I would say, a success. I mean, looking at some of, the success that you've had in some of reducing the crime in different areas here, it's pretty good. I'd like to know more about your statistics and get a little bit more information on what you attribute some of these successes, being successful in reducing these numbers. I think it'll be important as we move forward in terms of addressing some of the ongoing problems that we have, and in particular, the 2 areas that you highlighted on your map that was up on our screens, the Citadel and the Commerce Shopping Center. I'm hoping that you guys will put a good strategy working in collaboration with, the owners of the 2 entities. I know in the case of the Citadel, they've spent quite a bit of money in security and making sure that they're doing some things, but I'm sure that there's other things they can do to try to improve and reduce the numbers in that area, and also in the Commerce Shopping Center as well. So look forward to your next report down the road with regards to where we are with some of that.
Yes, absolutely, sir. We're planning on building on, like I said, decent success last year. And we're planning on building on that and improving on the areas that we didn't improve as much as we wanted to last year.
Yeah. Thank you again. Great report. And we would love to hear from our other captain with regards to the license plate readers, was it? Right?
Yep.
All right.
Yes, good evening. First of all, the flock camera system, safety camera system came about to the Sheriff's Department back in 2018, like my partner, Captain Dean, had mentioned. They had a pretty strong presence on the East Coast. They did not have one on the West Coast. So when we had the opportunity to pilot the program, that's when I was a service area lieutenant back at Temple Station for the city of Rosemead. I jumped on it, and we had some really good success. So it's been a while since I've actually had to deal with them or use them. I left that station back in 2019. So when I found out that Commerce had purchased some or actually leased some, I was pretty happy about it because I know that there's tremendous success that can come from those cameras. But with those cameras, it's like any system. You can't just have cameras without knowing where to put them, knowing who's recording, and how to monitor them and how to use them. It's a tool, so there is a learning curve, and that's what Sergeant Doherty and her team have started to do. And there is some success already, and I think over time you'll see the amount will increase because the system, Alper cameras are not new, which is automatic license plate readers. There's other companies that have had them. Flock has a couple extra things that made it a little more effective, probably be the best word for it. Some of the technology, I won't get into the details because it's pretty techy and even I don't really fully understand it. But there are some functions to the system itself that when you get trained on it, you then learn what other things you can do with that system. And that's what Sergeant Doherty and her team is working on now. And I've kind of introduced some of that training to them. And I've already reached out to our station to try to get these guys a little bit more in tune with the functions because it's not just about one plate getting read. And I think people sometimes get misled on, they think stolen cars, okay, so our car gets stolen, some stolen car comes through, and what does that mean for us? Well, I'm standing here telling you right now that when I was at Rosemead, I would say almost half the cars that we ended up taking into custody with people, it wasn't just a stolen car. We would open up the trunks and find stolen merchandise. You'd have other items. And as any law enforcement agency will tell you, people go and steal cars so that they can go commit other crimes. And that could be a robbery, it could be a homicide. So there's a lot more usage to these cameras than just stolen cars. And you mentioned earlier catalytic converters. That's another thing that they tend to use, someone else's car, go steal it, go caper in that car. And this is going to give us a little heads up at it. And maybe it wasn't mentioned before too with the Flock camera system is that there are other cities that have it. Somebody mentioned Pico Rivera earlier, they have them. So you got to be mindful of the fact that these guys, when they get full access to everything, and part of that's training, you could have a car in Pico Rivera's area and it hits the camera, but guys here can get that alert, knowing, hey, that car's heading westbound down Washington. It's coming to our area. So they could literally sit there and wait for it and see if it could turn off before it gets to Commerce, which is great. They don't ever come into Commerce, that's great. But if they do, guess what? Commerce deputies will know it. And they'll get to them before they go do something to any of the community. So like I said, there's a lot of things that can be done. There is a learning curve, and we're already working on it. We've already fine-tuned a couple of the cameras. We found out that they weren't really capturing what we wanted them to. We looked through every single camera to see what they're generating as far as hits and what kind of clarity they're getting. And there's already a couple that we've already identified that had to be adjusted. And we're going to keep doing that adjustments until we get it fine-tuned and right. And we may even have to move a few, which, as you know, they're not fixed post. They have their own power source, so we can move. And I truly believe that by the end of the year, you're going to see some tremendous success, and we'll have stories to come back with. I don't doubt it for a second.
Captain, thank you. We appreciate hearing from you on that. I know it's an investment that we made in the expenditure of these devices, and we think it's a worthwhile expenditure that I think will pay dividends for us in the future in preventing problems down the road. Is there any comments, questions from the council? Councilmember Linus?
Captain Dean and Captain Kusayanagi, just thank you for coming by and giving the report and the update on Flock. I do think that Sergeant Duarte and her team are doing a great job here in the city. But as the mayor said, we did make a pretty significant investment to increase the sheriff's department's tool set. So I think you said by the end of the year, but I am curious. Like typically, when do you see a tool like this like driving the needle and getting to a point where you can come back and give us some statistics on, hey, this is the improvement that we're seeing, or this is what the performance is? Like, how can we quantify it?
We can quantify it by, we can start bringing some of the statistics or some of the information that we're getting back as far as, and I know the Sergeant Board already has some arrests that have been made off of it. I can only work off of what my personal experience with them before, and
Sure.
now I'm getting involved with them here, and I have full confidence that you'll see the change. But they first have to be placed. I was very strategic with when I did it with Rosemead. I literally sat there with a map of the entire city, and I stared at it for no less than a couple of weeks straight, and figuring out every ingress and egress to every single part of the city, where people could come in, where they could leave. And so it was through a lot of trial and error, and I also knew the crime that was going on in the area extremely well. So each camera had to be placed with a very intended purpose. It wasn't, well, this is a major street, so we'll just put it here. Well, that may not always be the way people come in and out. Sometimes we avoid certain streets because it's just too crowded, and they found a back route. So over time, I didn't mean like we have to wait for our entire year to see any results.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is by the end of the year, you'll see the totality of the results. But every month, there should be improvements in it. Every month, you'll see arrests coming off of those cameras. And we can communicate that information back. But like I mentioned earlier, there are some cameras that need to be readjusted. So Sergeant Doherty has already reached out to Flock to say, hey, we need to move some of these cameras because they're not capturing things correctly. And that may not have been their initial install. Anything could have happened. We had major rains. It could have loosened up the bolts or something, and it turned a little bit. But a little turn will drastically change what it's capturing. Because if it's pointed at 2 lanes and it moves just a couple inches one way, now we're capturing a sidewalk in a lane. And you've lost 50% of the usage of that camera. So between that and then also getting everybody on board with how they work, and because they do have to log in, so there is that learning curve, and that's what I've already started pushing on. Sergeant Doherty already did it, but it's hard to explain something when you've never actually used it. So coming from me knowing the ins and outs of that program, I think it's going to come off where guys are going to learn a lot quicker.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be good to get a regular report on the performance of the tool. I'm also curious to know, or at least get a sense of a timeline on when we think we can tighten up the configuration, at least to feel like, okay, we're in a decent place. Certainly optimization is going to be fluid, but we feel like we have things pretty set now. I'm curious about that, and also the timeline for training, because you're right. The tool is only as effective as the people that are managing it and using it. So if we're not using it properly, I think that's something that we need to look at as well. So, and I don't know if that falls on you or if it's our public safety manager or the sergeant, but I think just understanding that, just because I think all of us felt pretty positively about this tool, and we just want to see it perform and be able to see the results. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, to answer that question though, it's also a team effort, and everybody will be involved. And I mentioned it before, I was very excited that they're here because I know for a fact we had so much success that every city around me was asking me, what are you using?
Yeah.
And if I could, if you looked at a map of our area where there was, back in 2018, 2019, 0 Flock cameras, there is probably no less than, I don't know, maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of like 300 cameras in the, in the neighboring areas. And these areas are the last ones to finally get on board with that. County areas, it's a whole nother fight. I won't even go down that road. It's a very difficult path to go down for the county areas, just because cities have the ability to put up these cameras very quickly, but counties a little more difficult. But just the mere fact that all the other areas are getting into the system, and that actually enhances the abilities here, because now we have that ability to tap into those cameras. So it's kind of like you bought certain amount of cameras for here, but you technically bought into a whole network that wasn't part of, the cost. So we'll come back with some more, definitive, more concrete information in our statistics. But again, like I said, the first thing was to dial it in, make sure that everybody's on board with it, get the training up, and then it'll start to pour in. And this is the same thing that happened when I was in Rosemead.
Sure.
The first couple months, it was hard. People had to figure it out. Beyond that, it just increased a little more, and it became exponential because everybody started to figure out how to do it. Because there is a learning curve, like I said. You get an alert, you need to understand that alert happens. Don't go to where that street is. You have to know the direction of that camera. So some of these guys need to figure out where those cameras are and know, hey, I just got an eastbound hit. Don't go there. You need to head a little further down and wait. So those are the things I'm talking about as far as learning how to use them.
No, understood. So I think maybe it's just something that we can maybe touch on again in the next presentation, and maybe Vilco, we can talk about it offline, but just making sure that there's some KPIs or some, like, I just want to quantify the performance. I just want to make sure that it is effective, and if there is still training that needs to be done, because I know the configuration is going to be fluid. Like, how do we get that done? So,
absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you both. Appreciate your report. And
One last thing real quick. I know they asked to bring it up. It didn't really affect the city of Commerce, but it affected our surrounding areas. I don't know. I'm sure you guys all saw the news. Sunday night after the Super Bowl, there was a string of homicides that happened. One in the city of Bell, one in the city of Cudahy, which is patrolled by East LA Sheriff Station, one in the Firestone Florence area, which is Century Station, and then one in Huntington Park. All very close cities to us. I don't know if anybody wasn't watching today, just to let everybody know, the suspects were arrested in that case. Our LASD homicide did a fantastic job, had these guys in custody in less than 48 hours, including the vehicle, and they're still working the case actively. But just to kind of put the community at a little bit more ease, because I know 2 of the shootings happened right near schools, like one of them right at the front doorsteps of a school. I know it doesn't affect Commerce, but it does affect our surrounding areas. We have increased our patrols at certain schools, at most schools, and we've reached out to the school districts, and we're working with them as well. So any questions on that? But I know that is a big thing, obviously, in this whole area right now. And like I said, our LASD homicide did a great job, and those suspects are in custody.
Thank you for the update on that, Captain. I know it was something that I had forwarded to Vilco this morning, and I just became aware of it this morning. The announcement came from the Montebello Unified School District, and I was like, oh, let me forward it on. And I did, and of course his response was that, you had already apprehended the individual yesterday.
Yes, sir.
And so it was good. I'm really glad, because I'm sure because of the announcement, a lot of people were, hey, what do we do? What's going on? And, so it's good that at least we got that information out. I did forward that information to the president of the school board, asking her to maybe update their bulletin that they had sent out, so that way people are not alarmed and wondering what's going on. So at least they have an update.
Yes, sir. And it's very important, obviously, to make sure the information going out is vetted. Times like this, we have things going out on social media that aren't vetted, and that's how rumors start and things get going. Obviously, we were dealing with the city manager and the city council of Cudahy specifically on that, because it was their area. But again, on any incidents that happen, we have a great line of communication with Vilco. We're on, like the day of the fatal TC, he knew about it right after it happened. So anything that we get, we'll make sure that we vet so proper information can get to you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys again. Thank you. Keep up the good work out there. All right. So we'll receive and file this report. And at this time, we're going to move to item number 11. And that'll be a, let me see. It's a concept plan for the Bristol Park Improvements Project. Tina?
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, good evening. As part of the capital improvement program for this current fiscal year, council had directed staff to work with an architect to come up with a concept plan for Bristol Park to see what we could do with the existing building and the surrounding area We have been working with the city's contracted architect, Mr. John Cataldo, who is here this evening to present his concept plan for the community center at Bristol Park, along with the library. Mr. Cataldo? To advance the slides.
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
introduce your team as well.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I want to say what a privilege it is to be here, and I want to thank the City of Commerce for 40 years. The very first time I was in this room was 40 years ago and made a presentation. And I just want to thank the city for the opportunities and the benefits that I've derived from having worked here. And it's easy enough to say. Today I counted how many buildings we've touched in the City of Commerce, and I stopped counting at 50. So when Gina said, take a look at this property, I can't tell you how excited I was and what a privilege it is to be here and on my staff and in helping me put this together. So just to begin with, you may want to take a look at the way the condition of the building is right now. And I think we've all looked at it. And it architecturally, in terms of description of styles, back in the 80s, which I think this is right around the time it was built, there was a term called brutalism. And it was a very popular style for a certain type of architecture. Now, I mean, in terms of maintaining a certain purity, you can quantify that as that. Although, when we went there, I walked around the building several times. I walked inside, and I walked through the park. And I said, you know what's wrong with this building? The park needs to be inside of it, and the building needs to be part of the park. And the other things that the building lacks is, I mean, there's problems with the roof, there's problems with the air conditioning. Rather than it trying to be an isolated statement in the middle of the park, why not bring the park into the building? And let's see, if you look at that one of the renderings, probably the very first one, you could see that the idea was to remove the core. There's a core area which has a courtyard which is not well maintained, and it's yeah, you can see it on the plan. Yeah, there. And it's also surrounded by other areas which can be removed. So our thinking was, let's open it up and then create an element that emphasizes the openness, and on top of it, make it a very special statement where you could create lighting, special events, and use the courtyard in the middle of the building as a place to gather and as a place to bring the park into the building. We've also paid attention to the facade. We wanted to modify the facade as well. Now, the interesting thing about the program is that there's the opportunity to make this a sculptural garden as well. And I think bringing in local artists with the concept of how do we integrate a park, a building, and derive safety and concerns about bringing the entire community to this building so there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of wanting to be here. Part of what I see is exciting is that there's a boxing ring there. I boxed for a while. And it's one of those places where you take people, or my eyes myself, you're kind of down and out and low, and you use boxing as a way to get yourself out of it. And I see that as an opportunity for this building and for the people that are going to be using not just the boxing, the dance area, the library, which will get remodeled, as well as the meeting room we're proposing. And I think that what we're trying to do is create a sense of pride, use the sculptural garden, extend the building so that it becomes part of the park, and bring the park into the building. I'm delighted to present this to you. I know there's a lot of details involved, and I know there's a lot of program configurations and a lot of different needs and whatnot, but we're very happy to address them, and thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the presentation. Is there any comments, questions on the presentation? Councilwoman Rebollo.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. We are very excited to be looking at this. This is way long overdue for the Bristol Park community, so we're really excited for this. I do, however, have a few questions. Number one, I don't think you presented. I didn't see like the playground area and the field. What is? Is this area where the soccer field currently is?
Well, we looked at primarily the building and the surroundings around the building. The soccer fields are part of the park.
Okay, so we're not touching the soccer field, correct?
Well, we can.
No, I don't want to lose the green spaces where I'm going at. Okay, so this area here where you have the little sprinklers.
Yes.
That's where our little wading pool currently is.
Yes. Yes.
So the concept is obviously to get rid of the wading pool. And is it just going to be little fountains, or are we talking about implementing some type of small water park?
We want to implement some water into it, and it's still conceptual at this point.
Okay.
So
is Greg not here?
So I do like the concept of introducing something other than the wading pool, but I don't want, like, for me, I think we need to relook at it being something else than just fountains, because this is pretty popular in the summer for that community. But that was one question.
Before you go on, Councilwoman, we
Yes.
can have Greg Alanis, our Park and Recreation Director, speak to that. We've had a few conversations, and maybe he can enlighten you as to what we have projected, or at least in mind for that area.
Thank you, Council. The idea behind the splash pad is actually
There you go, splash pad,
spray.
that's what it's called.
It's a spray. It's a splash pool right now. This, for lack of better words. However, we actually want to implement a new splash pad there in that particular area. There's a lot of other logistics that go with it, but that's what we're thinking at this time.
Okay, so it's not just fountains.
No,
Okay.
it'll. Let me tell you, you're gonna love it when it's done.
That was my question. Thank you. I love the idea of the murals. The culture within the whole city of Commerce, right, is super rich, but there's a beautiful mural that exists there in Bristol Park currently that has been there for many years. And I, first of all, don't want to lose that, but I love that you've implemented more murals. That's beautiful. The meeting room length, are we talking about, would it be the same square footage, or are we talking about making it bigger?
Currently,
Because I couldn't really understand from the.
Okay, the current meeting room, we are keeping it pretty much the same as it is right now. If you look at this plan, the meeting room, which is to the west, I believe, we are adding some additional section that could be part of it, but essentially we're keeping that building, that portion, and that would be remodeled.
Okay. I know this is conceptual, but for me, if we're going to reconfigure and look at the building, I would like to see a bigger meeting room. It's, you know, that's just for me. If we're going to look at really remodeling, right? I think a bigger meeting room, because there is different clubs that can meet there. So those are my suggestions: a bigger meeting room, the splash pad, which was already addressed, and again, I don't want to lose our green space. So I know there's this patio area that looks wonderful in the front part of the building, and the back part of the building also. If you can put up that slide again where you had the fountains, a lot of that looks like cement. The next one where you have the little, that one. Okay, I just don't want to lose green space. That's my biggest. And I would like to see more trees. Not enough trees. That was it. Thank you.
Commissioner, I apologize because I was looking at the wrong plan. And it's been pointed out to me that we did enlarge the meeting room.
Okay, perfect. That's because I thought the initial conversation was we were going to make it bigger, and that's why it didn't really make sense to me. Okay, all right,
Yeah,
perfect. That's
I
great.
was looking at the wrong plan when I.
Okay, that
when I
addressed my
should have
question.
looked at
Thank you
the
so much.
correct one, and it is a much larger meeting room.
Okay.
Thank
That was it.
you.
Thank you.
Any
Yes,
additional
sir.
comments?
I have a comment.
Councilmember Garcia.
Yes, thank you. Can you go to slide 1, please? Oh, I'm sorry. The next one. Yes. So what I'm seeing here is the entrance it's like an outdoor, but also an indoor offices. Is that how it looks? Am I looking at that right?
The rendering depicts the what you might call the atrium area that is now opened up, so that you're free to walk through it, and there'll be functions on either side of it. There'll be the meeting room, the multipurpose room, the game room on one side, then the library, boxing and dance area on the other side. But with the idea that the atrium area gets also used for meeting, for studying, for just community functions as well, particularly if there's some art that's been brought in, particularly if there's some lighting that occurs. One idea is to do something interesting with the lighting at the bottom of the structure as well.
I think it looks spectacular. And the outside and the back, it seems to me that you added more green space.
I'm sorry?
You added more green space in the back. That's what it
Yes.
looks like to me. We removed the benches and now we're adding more green space, more walkways. Is that what I'm looking at?
Yes.
Am I looking at that right? Okay.
And this would also be in conjunction with the sculpture garden as well.
All right, thank you.
One of the things I do want to point out, though, is that there's a functional aspect to this, and that has to do with the vehicle circulation on the site. And one of the things that's been pointed out to us was that there is a interesting turnabout at the very end on the that would be the I believe the north side of the building, and it's problematic because of the way the traffic flows, and we have proposed to reconfigure that and modify it so that the traffic doesn't actually go through there. I think we can look at, is there a shot of that? Yeah, that area that you see right there takes into account part of that area where the traffic is currently maneuvering rather rapidly around the park. So it helps solve that problem that exists right now.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, John and your team, I really wanted to thank you for what you created here. I mean, to go to Bristol Park, to look at it and try to envision what you can create. I think it's remarkable. I like that patio roof deck. I like the metal structure that's holding it together. I like the fact that you almost feel like you're in a little shopping center, yet, but it's a park, right? You walk in and you have your different, your meeting room, your kitchen, the break room, things of that nature. I like that in the back of it, we can have the splash pad that'll work for the kids. I know that this is just, I mean, looking at it, the splash pad, that's not the splash pad that maybe we choose a different one, right? I mean, I understand that. I think it's a piece of art. I think that you're brilliant creating something like this, beautiful. I think that it can be the first domino that drops at Bristol Park to beautify the entire park, because sometimes when you work on your own home or you work on something, your garden, you plant a flower, and then all of a sudden you're looking at the such beauty that the nature that's created. Then you want to move on to the next, and the next you know it's the entire garden, then your lawn, and it just keeps moving in that direction. And I think moving in this direction, I feel like this park has been ignored for so long that I think putting this there will be the first domino to drop. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to create something that's remarkable, that's beautiful. I mean, I'm for this project, and maybe with some fine tunes that each council member would like to change this and that, I think it's fabulous. I want to do this for Bristol Park. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Linus.
Thank you, Mayor. John, thank you for the wonderful presentation. You know, I echo my colleagues' sentiments. This is very exciting, and Bristol Park is in dire need of repair, you know, as I'm sure you saw when you walked through it. If we do end up moving forward with this, and feels like we may, what is a timeline for design?
Well, a lot of it depends on the decisions the city makes. But on a normal trajectory, let's say it's a full go, I think you could see work starting on this in about 2 years. And the construction itself may take another year. But I think that there's more to just the construction. There's the things that we're showing. There's things like the exterior, the sculpture, the garden itself, the art. So all of that will take its time, and I hope that it will involve the community, because I think there's a lot of pride in this community, and if we can bring in those people that are using the facility to help foster the ideas and part of the improvements, it'll be very successful.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I know the cost for the design will be $370K. Does that factor in any community outreach or anything like that, or is this strictly design services?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So the design phase of this project, will it include any community outreach? And
Well, we want to. We feel it's important. I mean, we can't design in a vacuum.
I would agree. So maybe Gina, you were going to come up to.
Well, I was just going to say, yes, for this evening, council's action would be to consider approving the concept plan and appropriating $300,000 for design services so that we can take this concept plan and move into the more detailed design that we're going to need in order to bid this project out. And so we would definitely include outreach as part of that design services, and return to council for approval at that time.
Okay. So that is baked into the plan as we put together design. Okay. That's great. So I'm glad about the community outreach component. I think the only other thing that I would add is, I know we're focusing on the facility. If there's anything we can do as far as like upgrades to the fields, like the bleachers, the dugouts, the baseball fields, you know, that would be nice to see as well. Just because we're doing this big, beautiful facility, right? And it would look a little bit imbalanced if like the fields and like we're kind of left in the same state.
We have the Pathways for Hope project, which is going to improve other areas of the open space at Bristol Park, including the main entrance for pedestrian with new trees and some hardscape there. And then back in the corner behind the ball field is a whole new area That would be walking trails and a drought-tolerant garden
Sure.
with new benches and more places for people to be able to, sit and enjoy the open space. So we do have different projects planned for this park.
Okay. So yeah, so maybe the baseball field backstops, the dugouts, the bleachers, just something to consider because they're very visible, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Vice.
It's a question for Gina. Gina, what do you estimate the cost of building something like this will cost the city?
About 10 million.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for all your input. John and your entire team want to thank you guys for this fabulous looking design that you've come up with. I did have just some follow-ups also along with the others. Some of these items have already been addressed, so I'm not going to be redundant with some of those. But I did want to just remind our staff that we did have the meetings at each of our parks as part of the input that we got from things that we would like to see in parks. And I think Greg can touch a little bit more on that. But there was a lot of this that was covered. Some of the things, for instance, the splash pads and different aspects of what the community would like to see in their parks and recreation moving forward. So there's a lot of good information there, and it was very well attended at all of our parks. So there's a lot of good information that we can gather from that, and of course, the community outreach that was just brought up, which is I think would be excellent because you would then be getting input from the members of the Bristol Park community and possibly others as well. Other members of the community as well. But it'll just be important to hear folks out on that. Two items that I had related to. One was the lighting. You mentioned you get creative with doing something. Of course, what comes to mind for me is Las Vegas and the old, the old strip, Las Vegas, and what they did with that, and how they got real creative and making it very, very functional, very usable, where you can have events and really it looks great. I was hoping to see some creativity since we're there and see what something like that would cost us to, not exactly like that, but where we utilize those lights to be able to use them for different events. The other component of that is that I'm concerned about the weather. Obviously, we have cold weather at times, and now the space there becomes unusable. So I wanted to give some thought to that. How could we take advantage of it so it's usable to us year round? So either you have some maybe heaters that get put in and they get used during when it's cold, so that you can still be outside, but yet you're comfortable. So maybe giving some thought to that, so that the entire space then becomes usable year round. So that's kind of what I was thinking along those lines. Those are my only comments. Other than that, I like the design. I like the presentation. Thank you all very much. We really appreciate it. Any other comments, questions?
Thank you for your comments. I well noted, and believe me, we've been thinking a lot about all of that, and we'll certainly take it into consideration.
Great. Thank you. All right, then, if there's no additional comments or questions, we have a recommendation on this item. And the recommendation is the City Council will receive and file a presentation on the proposed concept plan for the Bristol Park Improvements Project by John G. Cataldo, Inc., the city's project consultant, and will consider adopting a resolution approving the proposed concept plan and appropriation of $300,000 from Measure AA for design services and release of a request for proposals for design services. There's no additional comments or question. A motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to move forward.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Thank you.
Sure.
Give us a minute. We're going to move forward here shortly. One of our members had to step out briefly, and I want to give him the opportunity to be here for this item. And at this time, we're going to move to item number 12, and that would be resolution making certain findings and approving an energy services contract with Alliance Building Solutions. Vilko, who's going to be providing a presentation on this?
We have a public comment and it's a public hearing, if the mayor wants to open the public hearing first.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open the public hearing on this item, and at this time, I'll call Scott Mainzen up. Thank you for the reminder. Mr. Mainzen, if you don't mind, your name and address for the record, and you'll be, well, actually, it's a public hearing, so we'll allow you the appropriate amount of time for you to make your presentation. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much. Well, let me start with happy birthday, Mr. Vice Mayor. Heard you say it's your birthday.
My birthday?
Didn't you say it was your birthday today?
Oh, yeah. No.
Oh, you said you turned 50 today, so heard that earlier.
I'm 50. Well, I'm turned 50 in November.
Well, there you are. Happy birthday again.
Yeah.
My name is Scott Mainzen. I'm the general manager of Sizerco Energy Solutions. Quick note about this item, very technical note. When we were here in November, council was presented with a proposal and the direction came back from council to look at the interest rate because when the question was posed, if staff recommended the project, the answer was that the scope had been vetted and the documents were here for your review and approval. The document in front of you tonight does include a very substantial scope change, so I just want to make sure everybody's aware of. It eliminates the mechanical equipment. In the proposal, it's for Rosewood Park. In our proposal, it's for Brenda the Aquatic Center. Minor detail, just want to make sure everybody's watching as things move around here. I've sometimes referred to myself as your favorite pen pal. If you've had the chance to read my latest correspondence, which was dated February 5th, great news. On January 31st, Southern California Edison approved a NEM 2 solar interconnection application for City Hall based off of one of the designs that was presented to several council members in March of last year. So that's fantastic news. The NEM 2 application is very valuable. Took Southern California Edison a long time, but that was approved on January 31st. And on February 5th, the proposal from Sizerco Energy Solutions was presented to you. If you had a chance to read the second page in quick summary, it compared our proposal to the Alliance Building Solutions proposal. Our proposal provides more energy conservation measures at more buildings for almost $2 million less. So the item before you tonight is contracted under Government Code 4217. The language in 4217 says that the governing body must make findings that are in the best interest of your city. And I look forward to hearing how this item is reviewed. There are some alternatives that are recommended in the staff report. One of them is to give staff alternative direction. One idea would be that council could give staff the direction to complete the direction that council gave to staff in March of 2021, when council held a public selection process, a public RFQ, and selected Sizerco Energy Solutions and directed staff to have Sizerco Energy Solutions do an investment grade audit and develop a project and bring it back for proposal. That proposal obviously has been presented, but hasn't been presented formally and could be available to you as soon as 2 weeks from now, because the law allows public notice to be given and 2 weeks later for a project to be reviewed by the discovering body. So great to see you all again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Meinzen. Vilko, I know we have a public hearing. Are you going to make a presentation, or is there anybody in the public that would like to make any comments? If we don't have anybody from the public or the representative from Alliance, do we have anybody that would like to make a comment? If not, oh.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, staff, thank you. I guess my understanding is, Vilko, I think you were going to kind of lay this out for the council, the presentation in PowerPoint, and if there was any questions, I'm here to answer those. If there are any questions between the proposals, I'd be more than happy to answer those. I guess the difference is I have not had the benefit of looking at my competitor's proposal. He was given my proposal by this council, and you know, so if you wanted me to take a look at his, I give you the comparisons. But I think we've got a good proposal in front of staff. We worked diligently with staff for the last year. So I guess I'll stay up here. Vilko, kind of let you do your thing. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those.
Vilko?
Honorable Mayor, good evening. This item was first brought before the City Council late last year. At that point in time, a public hearing was conducted. This time around, there are a couple of items for your discretion. The first one is adopting a resolution making the required findings under Section 4710 and approving an installation agreement with ABS in the amount of just over $9 million for installation of certain energy conservation facilities, and authorizing the acting city manager to execute the agreements subject to non-monetary revisions by the acting city manager and city attorney, and conditioned upon the city council's future consideration and approval of final lease purchase agreement or financing contract in the manner specified by 4710. The first speaker is correct. What happened from the time that this was heard back in December until today, two significant items transpired. So we being staff are recommending that the removal of Brenda Villa Aquatic Center, they had 3 HVAC units, be funded by a $1 million funding component that was approved by the City Council as part of this fiscal year's capital improvement program. Thus, you see the decrease of the 9.7 to approximately just $9 million. And yes, the City Council did direct staff to come back with a different look as far as finance is concerned. As you recall, back in December, the financing term was 5.15%. We came back, we discussed it with Mr. Chapman here. They did provide us a lower amount, but we also then ventured out and found an institutional investment firm, bank, that is willing to provide us a rate of no more than 4.75, potentially closer to 4.55%, which would lower the interest rate and provide us more savings than the original amount of 5.15. So the scope of service did change. I mean, we did had that conversation on several occasions with Mr. Chapman and Alliance. This wasn't something that, you know, we pulled out of the blue and did on our own accord. They were accepting of it. They were also accepting the fact that if we can go out and find a better rate, they were open to the idea. So the item before you for tonight is just the approval of the installation agreement, right? Based upon the design and construction energy improvements that were provided subsequent to a comprehensive citywide audit that they performed last year in 2023. So with that said, I will go ahead and review the energy improvements that are being recommended at Bandini Park. You have interior LED lighting upgrades, exterior LED lighting upgrades. You have 6 HVAC unit replacements, and then you have a web-based programmable thermostats. Here at City Hall, which is the primary location for the upgrades, again, you have some interior LED lighting upgrades. You have 28 HVAC unit replacements. And then you have some roof upgrades on the City Hall extension only. So not on this old section, but on the new section that was added on back in 2004, I believe. And then, of course, one of the bigger components is the solar carports that would be implemented. At Brenda Villa, again, the 3 units were removed. So we're just looking at interior, exterior LED lighting upgrades. Same holds for the senior center and the teen center. So that's where we stand right now, and I would be happy to answer any questions or comments that City Council might have. And I'll open it up to Brad, and if he wants to plug any holes or offer any other, narrative to the presentation, I'd be happy to entertain that.
Well, let me open it up to the City Council, see if there's any comments or questions. Any comments, questions?
I have a few comments.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being here today. I don't really have any questions directly to the project. You know, I think I spoke my piece towards the end of last year. I think there's some really good things with this project, right? Outside of the renewable energy components, right? I'm happy to see that the interest rate goes down from 5.15 to now 4.75. I think that's a significant savings. So, Vilko, I do want to thank you and staff and everybody else who worked to obtain that, rate, right? Because it does equate to, I want to say, close to $1 million in savings, if not more, over the life of the deal. So that's great. I also love that there's a partnership with IBEW Local 11 and laborers. I think labor is a great component of any project, but we have to make sure that they're a component of the right project for the city. And the truth still is, with the way this deal is structured, we still don't see a significant savings until after year 20. And by then, the equipment may be old, it may be obsolete, possibly in need of replacement. I mean, I remember buying an electric car in 2015 or leasing it. It was a Chevy Volt, and it got 40 miles to the charge. And that was like 8 years ago. And now electric cars get 400 miles to the charge, right? So this technology is constantly improving. It's fluid. So that's a consideration that I'm making here, right? And, as I look at things, I know that there's going to be an annual cost of over $722,000. And I think there's a suite of other things that we can do with that money. I prefer to prioritize our current capital improvements that are on our radar. We have the Bandini Library and the Learning Center. We have the Bristol Rep Park renovation, which we just saw a wonderful concept plan for, and that sounds like it's going to be about $10 to $12 million. We also have the Veterans Park Community Center that will be a part of the Modelo project. We also have current facilities that need repair. We had heavy rains last week, and I walked into the Aquatic Center, the BVAC, and it had leaks in 3 different areas, right, where people could have slipped and fall, further liability to the city. So I think there's some things that we need to shore up with our existing facilities, and also looking towards the future with our new facilities that we do have as part of our priorities, right? Again, like what I'll say is, and I said it last time, I think we should focus on setting policy to ensure that we have energy efficient and renewable components of any projects that involve the construction or structural renovations of city facilities, right? We talked about the projects I just mentioned. I think they should have renewable energy components. I think they should have energy efficient elements. And I also think that we should make sure that whenever we take these city facility projects out to bid, we are looking to incorporate our union brothers and sisters, especially the ones close to home like IBEW Local 11, laborers, because I think that is a very key component of what makes a project right for the city. But for me, just because of the general cost, right, and the things that we have in the pipeline, and there hasn't been a lot of movement in our current capital improvements that we've talked about for a few years, for me, I can't support it. So that's where I stand. And I just wanted to explain the rationale as to why.
So can I comment on that?
Sure.
So in very good points, and yes, you know, our partner Antonio Sanchez is with IBEW is here and supporting this project, and so with most public agencies, you have your CIP, you have capital projects. Those are a cost to the city of building, you know, remodeling Bandini Park, fixing, you know, the leaks that you talked about at the pool center. Those are a direct cost. What projects of those can you do without using any general fund dollars and pay for it through savings that right now you're giving to Southern California Edison? All you're doing is redirecting funds that you're paying to Southern California Edison to fix capital improvements. Your air conditioners that we're fixing in this project are past their useful life. They're going to fail. Your staff is going to be coming up here this year asking you guys for millions of dollars to fix this air conditioning. You're going to have to use general fund dollars to fix that. There's no projects that you can do right now where you can go to the federal government and get an ITC tax credit back. You guys are going to get a 7-figure tax credit back from the federal government that has no strings attached to it. You can do whatever you want. Put $1.5 million to help fund your Bandini Park remodel. So the concept of these projects are to fix all these capital improvements that can be paid for through savings, and you're just redirecting your utility budget to pay for this equipment before the useful life of the equipment is up. So correct, most of the savings that you'll actually see back to your general fund is after the equipment is paid for, but at that time you do another project like this. So you're constantly fixing capital equipment at essentially no cost to the city. That's how these projects work. So yes, you are actually getting savings. The cost, that $700,000, you're going to pay it to the utility, or you can pay it to a bank for new equipment. But one way, it's leaving your general fund. So that's kind of the concept of these projects.
Thank you for that feedback. But, you know, we're talking about 34 HVAC units, and those will eventually need to be replaced. So I get what you're saying about diverting different funds, and I respect that. I just think that we have so much on our plate right now as a city. I think we really need to focus on getting that done before we take on any more on our plate. So thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
So our council members' comments the last time just had me thinking about the AC equipment, right? That things will go obsolete, and you're right. They're starting to go obsolete. Some of them are probably about 15 years old. Some are 20 years old. The ones that are here at City Hall, some that are in Bandini, the 34 units. In 20 years, like you said, we're gonna have to change them out again, right? But what I did, I really wanted to take a look at under the hood on what's happening with the AC, and a lot of the model numbers I think your company has provided, because it was on the sheets that I had asked staff for. I'm in the AC industry, so taking a look at a lot of the AC units there, honestly, I think it's inflated on the amount that is being charged for the air conditioning, probably about $400,000. Some of them are 1.5 ton, you know, some are 4 ton. At first I had estimated everything to be potentially 5 ton. I went with that. Except what's at Bandini. I went a little higher, maybe 7.5 tons, some 5 tons, because I was only able to look at, there was no model numbers. I only was able to look at the maps on satellite and kind of count out the units there. There's 6 units there. But then when I saw the model numbers is really what brought concern to me, that on a high end, if I wanted to charge on a high end, $30,000 per unit. And some of the ductless split systems that are just on a ton and a half, that's not what you would charge there, but I just charge that. It doesn't even, it's about $400,000 less on what they should be charging. So I think I would like to see the city really go out to bid that separately, right? To really ensure that we're getting the best bang for our buck. To really, if we're going to replace the equipment for $1 million, we can change out 34 units. I mean, if we want to go on a high end, but here it's I think if I read it correctly, it's like $1.4 million. Am I wrong about that?
I'd be more than happy to sit down with you, Vice Mayor, and go through the breakdown. I think a couple things you have to understand is, you can be in the HVAC business, and I respect that. Replacing HVAC in public agencies is different than replacing a 510 unit at somebody's house, right? Number one, we have to use prevailing wage. We use labor. There's cranes that are in effect that we have to put on. We work the third shift, right? We're not we're not working during the 8 to 5 hours when staff's in session. Plus, in this project, you've got engineering costs that are spread out through over the project. You've got an M&V report where we're guaranteeing the savings. So back to the payment, where at the end of the year, if the savings doesn't equate to the amount to cover the payment, the debt service, we're on the hook for the difference on that. So all those things go into effect. But listen, if you think that that's something you'd like to do, I have no problem. We've worked very closely with staff on changing the scope. If you want to take the 34 units out of the project and move on with the project and bid that out separately, or have us come back with staff and at another time and break that price out and have you look at it, I have no problem with any of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely want staff to take a look at things like that, because I know we have a AC company that does pretty much the AC here, and I think that there was a bid lying around for the 6 units that are at the Bandini, which was just over $100,000. Yet it was much greater on the AC, I think, company or contractor that you were using. So that brought concern to me, So, I mean, I don't feel comfortable with that. I mean, and you know what? I don't do work for government.
Yeah.
I don't. However, I did inflate the prices. I went with what I would charge. I was in the union for about 10 to 15 years, and I did work for Local 250, and so I'm in the trade for more than 30 years. Sure. So I understand what a union contractor would charge. I understand what a non-union contractor would charge. So I took it to union and I inflated it, but I didn't take into account what it costs to do work for government, with these extra insurances or things of that nature. So I didn't take that into consideration. I could be wrong. Yeah. But just from my experience, that's what I see right now. Yeah. So I would like to see staff if it. I think that if they take a look at what this would cost if we use the contractor that they're comfortable with. Sure. Also, I know in the past they did some retrofit lighting here, right? So if we bid that and find out. I really don't know much about solar, right? And I try to understand it. Like when you say instead of paying Edison, it's now just paying this loan off, right? So I just want to take. I want to feel comfortable making this decision that's going to cost the city over $700,000 a year. I mean, like our council member said, some of these buildings they're going obsolete. Like, what if Bandini isn't going to be here in 20 years? We need to knock it down. What if Bristol Park, we're doing something there? I don't think we're going to be doing anything in Bristol Park now. But those are the things that concern me, and I don't want to stop this project, but I do want to be comfortable making the decision for this, because eventually I'm not going to be on city council, but the city's still going to be paying this. It's monies that can go into projects or to our community. I don't know, and I want to be 100% positive before I move forward.
Any other comments, questions? All right, so at this point, we have an item on the agenda. If you'd like to move forward, would you be open to modifying the item here to include looking at the AC units, getting a different quote, working with somebody else on these units?
I'm not comfortable like moving forward without knowing exactly what we're gonna get. I mean, if we're gonna go out to bid for the AC and for the retrofit on the lighting, I'm okay with that. I think staff, are you comfortable with going out to bid on AC stuff and retrofitting lighting, or how does this whole project thing work? I mean,
Yeah, I don't want to be premature in responding to that. Let me have an opportunity to sit down with Gina, right, and talk about both of those components. But if it's council's directive, we can bring back an item after we, send those specifically specced out for bid and bring it back to council, and then you guys are gonna have a good idea of what that means as a comparison to what is being presented here tonight.
I think that would be fine. Yeah, so about how long would that take for you to do that?
Gina, do you have an idea?
I think if we go out to bid on 36 or how many units, 34 units, how long would something like that take? And then second, if you're gonna go out to bid on retrofitting the lighting, and I think there's a transformer that needs to be changed, if we get a bid on that, now, do we have all the information to give a contractor, or do they have to now come back and start to take a look at things to see what it's going to take to actually do the job? Is 1 month, you're saying a month, basically. I don't know if that's enough time.
Well, I guess my question is how do you see that working? So typically, as an ESCO, there's two different ways, right? You're either product agnostic, where you don't carry a product, you're not trying to force a product down public agency's throat, or you're not. Now, we're a general contractor, and typically what we do is when we talk to a city is, do you have a mechanical you like? Do you have an electrical you like? If they meet our insurance requirements, we'll go out, we'll use them. We typically will go out and get 2 or 3 bids, and then we put that in the project. So if my thought is where you're getting at is to go out, get 3 quotes, talk to the mechanical that the city likes, share that with Vilco, show what our markup is, and put that in the project.
Can you repeat the last part of it for Vilco, for us to go out to bid and to include
right
what I think I would like to see what that looks like. Does that make sense for our city? I mean, right? I mean, that's a discussion that we will have with staff and see if that makes sense. So look, at this time, I really, because of these questions, and I've looked at this, but I just started to really take a deeper look because it just seems that we've been stalling, right? And trying to figure out and ask, how much is it going to cost? Where should we put this money? $700 and some $1,000 a year. Should we put it somewhere else? So I like I said, I don't feel comfortable. Maybe I will feel more comfortable in the future. At this time, I don't. So I think that, and it's just my thoughts. I don't know what city council wants to do. But I'm not saying let's not do solar. But this is what I'm saying, if it makes sense. I'm saying that that we should allow some time for staff to reach out to the contractors without a sense of really urgency, unless there's a sense of urgency here. I mean, if we don't move on this within 6 months, are we going to lose something?
So not necessarily, not as far as the mechanical and the building envelope stuff. The sense of urgency is really the renewable. You have two things that are going against you with the renewables. One is you've got NEM 2 to NEM 3, right? You have an application that was approved, and if you don't execute that, then the city's going to default to the NEM 3, which over 20 years is millions and millions of dollars in savings to your utility, millions. And you also have the tax credit right now, and we don't know what that's going to do. The government is already starting to claw back money, and so we don't know if they're going to extend that or not. And that's the equivalent of 30% tax credit. Like if you were in the private sector and you put solar on your home, you get 30% tax credit. This is the first time ever in history that they're allowing public agencies to have that. We honestly don't know how long that's going to last. So those two things would be your sense of urgency, but those only equate to the renewables. That just equates to the solar.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think what I would like to see is allow time for staff to be able to, I think, to separate the projects potentially, to get the bids needed for the AC, to get the bids for the retrofitting for the lighting. And I think I don't know if city council is open to this, but possibly bid out the solar again to see what's comparable, so we can compare things.
You can do that, but you won't get NEM 2.0. We submitted that application,
Uh-huh.
so that won't go to any other contractor.
Mhm.
So if you extend that out, you're in NEM 3.0.
Okay. All right. So, okay, I got it. So at this time, I
Are
do.
we done with your question? Yeah.
Is-
You had some recommendations, and
Yeah.
is there any additional recommendations based on your comments?
Not right now.
All right. Councilwoman Reboyo.
My general comment is just this, that I feel like every time it's before us, there's a new thing that we're giving staff, and there's a new thing, and there's a new thing. And we just need to make a decision. You know, we wanted a lower tax rate. We got it. We wanted union labor. They're working with union. We wanted a savings. Yes, it's not going to be immediate. We wanted solar. At first, I'm going to be honest, and you know this because I talked to you about it. I didn't like the proposal. But we sat down. Staff walked me through it. And then I looked at the benefits that it comes with, correct? And I absolutely respect all the comments that were made by my colleagues. But honestly, we just have to make a decision.
I concur. And you know what, with that,
I would like to call for the question.
I'd like to, let's move forward. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? I'll second that.
Just a minute. Can I ask a quick question? Gina, this is for you. In the event that there's energy efficient to be made, us as a staff, can we do something like this in a smaller scale?
We could, yes.
Thank you. Okay, that's my question.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
Mr. Mayor,
Who moved and who seconded?
can we get clarity on the motion?
I didn't make the motion, but I'll make it now.
I thought you moved.
No, I was saying that we need to make a decision now, but I said I called for the question.
Okay,
I will make the
and
motion
that's-
myself.
That's a move. So
Okay.
calling for the question would be a
What
move.
the motion is what, to approve staff's recommendation or?
Correct.
We have
My motion is to approve staff's recommendation.
Staff's recommendation, and I seconded the motion. So we'll call for the vote at this time, and can we roll call vote on this item, please?
Councilmember Garcia?
No.
Councilmember Lainez?
No.
Councilmember Ribor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Altamirano?
Because I'm not 100% comfortable right now, I'm gonna say no.
Mayor Guimada?
Yes. Okay, motion does not pass it on this item. So motion failed. All right, we'll move forward to all right, this is item number 13, allocation for the 50th year of Community Development Block Grant funds for fiscal year 2024-2025.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. So the item before you tonight is the CDBG allocation for the 50th year of Community Development Block Grant Funds for fiscal year 2024 and 2025. So the City of Commerce is a participant city in the LA County Small Cities Block Grant Program that distributes federal funds through community development, the Community Development Block Grant Funds. So each year, the city receives an allocation of funding administered by Los Angeles County Development Authority, also known as LACDA, for programs and projects that benefit low to moderate income persons. So the city is a participant. The allocation amount of each city is distributed and is derived by a formula based on poverty and population estimates drawn from the census data. So for this fiscal year, for fiscal year 2024, City of Commerce will receive an allocation of $119,994, as well as $16,283 of unallocated prior funds, for a total of $136,277. And these funds, the city is proposing to use these funds for the existing home preservation grant program, which offers grants up to $25,000 for low to moderate income households to assist with essential home repairs that include roof and window replacement, electrical, plumbing, and painting. So at this time, the city staff recommends that the City Council adopt the resolution authorizing the allocation for the 50th year of Community Development Block Grant Funds for fiscal year 2024-2025, and authorize the acting city manager or his designee to prepare, execute, and submit the planning summary agreements and all required documents for the 2024-2025 CDBG program. And if the council has any questions for staff, I'll gladly answer this.
Thank you. Is there any comments or questions? If not, a motion would be in order.
Mr. Mayor, can we open a public hearing?
Oh, sorry, that is a public hearing. We're declaring public hearing open at this time. Anybody wishing to address us on this item is free to do so at this time. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Is there any comments or questions, members of the City Council? If not, a motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any objections? Seeing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right, and at this time, we'll go to council reports, and I'll start to my right with Council Member Garcia.
Hello, good evening. I'd just like to report that I was able to attend the homeless count, and I'd like to congratulate that department. I think it was public safety. I had I don't know if I should say his name. Leda. He did a wonderful job. Great customer service. He knew the city very well, and he went street by street, and we made sure we counted everyone there, and it was just a wonderful experience. And I want to thank you for that experience. And Sergeant, you were there too. Thank you very much for that. Just a comment, since we're talking about the CDBG, I'm sorry, what is this? Yeah, CDBG funds. I would like to see if we can have staff, Bilko, if you can see if we can do the same for homeowners that are seniors, so they can fix the ramps. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move over to my right. Councilmember Rebollo.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This past weekend, I attended the ICA conference in Santa Barbara, and I would like to, I don't know if it's an action item, but Vilko, I would like for us to discuss looking at, I think it was mentioned before, a public information officer item or position that was taken off and hasn't been filled. I attended this really informational workshop that really discussed emergency disasters and how emergencies doesn't even make sense, sorry. Emergencies and the efficiency of the way we communicate with our community when there's an emergency. And it really got me thinking that we don't have a PIO officer anymore. And sometimes the way we communicate through social media is not ideal, or there's a lack of information put out. I think our departments do a really good job of putting out information when it relates to activities and services and programs. But we have to look at it on a grander scale. And just because we don't have an emergency right now, right, it doesn't mean that it's not going to come. We just had an earthquake last week. I was at work, I was at school, and the way our school handled it was like perfect. I don't know that we are ready to communicate to our whole community in case of a big disaster. And that's where PIO comes into play. So I would like for us to, I don't know, discuss it, see what the council feels. I know Councilmember, I was going to say Argumento, but no, Councilmember Altamirano, you were at the conference as well. It was just really eye-opening. So I wanted to see if we can have a discussion before our next budget meeting, of course, just to look at, public information and, in my opinion, the need that we have to go back to what we used to have in that department. With that, I wanted to share some bittersweet news. That longtime resident, Estela Luquin, has passed away, and that is the mother of Joanna Flores, who is a previous board member. Ms. Luquin was a member of the Bandini Park community for many, many years. Active member of programs at the library. You could find her taking her grandkids to Bandini Elementary, walking around the park, visiting the library. So I wanted for us, if we can add her, Estela Luquin, in the adjournments tonight when we adjourn the meeting, and just, ask the community to keep the Flores family in your prayers and in your thoughts. And with that, that's it. Wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. Make sure that you hug everyone that you love, and even the ones that you don't love, because that's where the greatest gift comes, is when you love those that don't love you back. So happy Valentine's Day. Take care of each other, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, and we will definitely adjourn in her memory. Thank you. Councilmember Linus.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things to report. I attended the Southeast Water Coalition board meeting in Vernon on February 1st. Not too much to report there. And I also attended my first Greater LA County Vector Control District meeting last week in Santa Fe Springs. As you may recall, I was appointed to that. So definitely lots to learn. So nothing to report right now, but I hope to get my legs under me soon and report on mosquitoes and some of the latest developments there. Going back to what Councilwoman Rebollo said, we did appropriate funds for a media specialist, which was supposed to close the gap, that we felt existed with communication between, City Hall and the community, or the city and the community. So I think, really looking at that and just following up, but, and if we want to expand that to a public information officer, I think certainly there'll be the opportunity in the next budget review. But I think we do have the funds for some type of communication component. And, I think we just need to make sure that we follow through with it. The other thing was, we've all talked about this in some way, shape, or form, but the app, right? We've talked about having a civic app, and I think that's also a way to kind of bridge the communication gap and just kind of make sure the communication loop between, our community and, the administration or the city is tighter. So, maybe those are two things that we need to look at, right? We get that, and then we see how we're doing, and then from there we maybe take it to another level if we need to. Lastly, I do want to express my condolences to the Flores family. My thoughts are with them for sure at this time. I also want to extend my deepest condolences to the family of Willie Williams, who I know will be adjourning in his honor today. But I don't know if any of you knew this, but Willie was my neighbor. So yeah, Willie was my neighbor. And he was actually the first person in Commerce to visit me when I got my home. And, the one thing I'll say about Willie is he was a great neighbor, straight shooter, told it like it is. In fact, when he walked into my house, without knowing who I was doing like light repairs, like painting and just fixing things up before we moved in. And I see a guy walk in, pretty tall fellow with a New York Yankees hat. it said Willie Williams just embroidered on the side. And you know, I looked at him like, hey, nice to meet you. Can I help you? And he doesn't even look at me, right? He's like looking at my wood eaves, and he's like, you got some termite damage over here. You know, they should have put redwood over here. And I was like, okay, well, noted. You know, I know there's some things that we need to fix, but he also offered to help me do that, right? And so, you know, we never actually got through that project because finances were a little tight, but the fact that he extended the olive branch there really meant a lot. So, you know, I didn't really get a chance to meet a lot of his family, right? But I definitely knew Willie. We had a couple cups of coffee here and there as we talked about current events and whatnot, and he was a good guy. So my thoughts are are with his family, and just wanted to extend my deepest condolences to him. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Linus. Vice Mayor Aldo Miranda.
Willie Williams. Willie Williams was, he told everybody he was my godfather, that he baptized me. And I've known him since I was about 10 years old, and I grew up with his kids. He's just an amazing man. I mean, he took me on family trips with him and his sons. I mean, we had a blast. I mean, he was there. He was like the cool dad, right? I could go to my dad. He was strict, and he would make me come home early, right? But he was just like the cool dad. I think back then he had a Trans Am. He was handsome guy, tall. He was a surfer. You know, he was just a cool guy. And we would have barbecues all the time. And he met my kids as well. You know, so he did work for the city for a number of years as well. And he would, I don't know, Kevin, if he would still do this, but he would compete with everybody on his block and said his grass was greener, and he would be there watering it. And he had a secret that he would never tell anybody. He said he got the secret from one of his neighbors that finally gave it to him, because he was the only one with his grass, his lawn was greener than his. So finally he gave it to him, and he said, Ivan, I'll only tell you a few things, but you have to figure out the rest. And it was dish detergent, and he didn't tell me the rest. Now, I'm not sure if he was just trying to kill my lawn or what, because many times my lawn was yellow, so he probably tricked me. But then he moved out, right? I think he moved out to Arizona. But I'm glad that you got to meet him, Kevin. And he was just a good guy. So yeah, he will definitely be missed. It was sad to hear of his passing. So switching gears, Chris Rago, longtime resident. I just wanted to congratulate him again for the love and passion that he has to bring these young kids up and propel them forward. And he's been coaching for a number of years in different areas. So just wanted to really say that I'm honored that he's my commissioner and a friend. I also did attend the conference, and that class or seminar that we took was very eye-opening because during a disaster, like how would we as a city, and I would like to hear it, I think all of us would like to really find out, is how do we effectively communicate with our residents and potentially even our neighboring cities and law enforcement and everyone needed, because in a time of crisis, the information that we put out 10 minutes later, it might be obsolete. So what do we do? How are we ensuring that this information is going to get to the residents? And how do we debunk false information and rumors that would go onto Facebook and then have residents travel to a danger zone versus to a safe zone? What are our safe zones? What do we do if there's a huge disaster? Who do we call? I know who to call. I have your phone number, right? I can call you directly. I can call staff directly. But do residents have that privilege? No. So what do? Let's come up with the plan. Now, I remember as a kid, I grew up on Commerce Way and in the 70s and 80s. And I remember that the city used to have this speaker system that was in the parks, that was in front of City Hall. And I think that's all it was. But you know those TV things, like in the back in the days, it was an emergency, you go teet, and it say this is a test. But the city would do things like that to bring the residents out, and it was just a test. However, those speakers are gone now. We lost that in the probably 80s. So how is it worth, or is there any ideas to be able to do something like that again, but also go through different, I'm sorry, go into different areas throughout Rosewood, Bandini, Bristol, West, just in case we cannot communicate through satellite phone, and we can now communicate through speaker system where residents can now hear what's going on through the EOC and get direction. Let's give that some thought. That's all. But happy Valentine's, everybody, and thank you. Sorry, Oralia said I don't talk enough, so I figured I'd just take her time as well.
That was great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for your reports, and thank you for bringing up those items related to public information. We obviously appropriated the funds, and I believe it was $125,000 for a public information position, and we should absolutely see what the status is with that. But in addition, I think what we need to do is we have some tools, and maybe we just need to kind of refresh our memory as to the use of these tools. Nixle is one of them that we have, and it's been used, in the past. And some people say inappropriately, because I think there was some campaign stuff that went out in some campaigns. But regardless, it's for emergency situations, and it can be used. And I know it's been promoted in many of our neighborhood watch meetings that we used to have, and we're continuing to have now. We should continue that process to try to see what we can do to get that updated so that we have everybody's information, and so we can broadcast whenever we need to send out some important information. We can send out that information to everybody, and obviously if they're registered with us, they will get it directly to their phones. But also the public information position, I think, is important, and it's a vital position that I think can help us further, in general, publicize the things that we need to put on our social media platforms, put things out there, update them, all of that, and maybe even additional things that they can do that we can come up with working, because there's events we go to sometimes, and we really don't have somebody to cover them. We don't have anybody, and maybe somebody like that could possibly go to these events, depending on what event we have, and provide some coverage and making sure that we get appropriate coverage and posting these items and things like that. So, and of course, there's maybe other things. I know Councilman Vaughn, you addressed some of that, but that was it. I know that we've been having meetings on every Monday, currently with the acting city manager and our city attorney, and our vice mayor has joined us. And that's just as we go through the process of trying to fill the city manager position. There's a lot of items that I think we still need to stay on top of and try to properly prioritize and keep things moving as we go through this process. But just so you all know, we have a search firm, and hopefully within the next 3 months we'll be setting up some meetings once we get some candidates and figure out exactly, hopefully we get a right fit for the city, and then we'll pick up where we left off and continue to move forward. But as we are now, we're still moving forward. We're doing a lot of good work. Great report today from our law enforcement team. And of course, Sergeant Duarte in the back over there, you're part of it. Thank you all for the great work, great report that we received today. Just a lot of good work, and I think there's a lot of room for improvement as we move forward. There's been a lot of good ideas that we've discussed. I've shared some with our new security manager. And in addition, I've shared them with Wilco. I believe that there are items that could enhance and help in reducing our numbers even further, and I'm hoping that they'll be taken into consideration in the future, and we'll bring something before the council to help us navigate through these different issues that we've been dealing throughout the community. So again, thank you all, and of course, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Tomorrow, hope you enjoy your day tomorrow. And as a councilwoman mentioned, a little bit of love to everybody, right? And of course, when we adjourn, we will be adjourning in memory of Willie Williams. Just to speak briefly about Willie, you know, I really didn't know him that well. I knew exactly where he lived. I know that he was your neighbor. I knew him more of as an employee of the city here, and I would run into him many times in the back, as he would do a lot of the he'd work in the evenings doing the cleaning, and you know. But he was one heck of an individual, and you're absolutely right about his. He'll tell you, you know, he was like, I don't want to tell you, but then he'll go on and tell you anyways, and give you some ideas and recommendations on what he thought on different things going on here in the city. And it was good. It was good to hear just his feedback, and he was a really good guy. I mean, all my interactions with him were very positive, and our sincere condolences with him, with his family, and also, of course, Estela Lukin. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Councilwoman, and we express our condolences to the Flores family. And that adjourns, I think that's all we have, so we'll adjourn our meeting at this time. Thank you.